It's me and you, boy.
The calendar in Andy's room shows a September with 31 days, although it always has 30 days. The saga continues to sidestep the inconvenient fact that with such carelessness to remain unnoticed for several years, living toys should be discovered after 5 minutes.
Operation Pull Toy.
Can you guys read each other's minds? Why did this guy leave his headlights on after parking? Do they want us to believe that Andy's mom closed the window without seeing Slinky hanging out in plain sight? I'm not talking about the fact that she wasn't surprised by an open window in the pouring rain in her young daughter's room, who would hardly have opened it with her own hands. Then there is the problem of timing. The boy who came to get Bo had just run to the front door when Woody and Slinky were coming up, so there is no way he could have gotten to the second floor in just 10 seconds. At that time, at most, he should have entered the hallway. And I still don't understand how he could have left his car keys in the house if there was no point in taking them out of his pocket just to enter the stranger's house for a minute. And of course he takes several minutes to look for them so that Woody and Bo have time for a whole philosophical farewell conversation. Why aren't Andy and his mother shocked at the fact that a toy ended up in the middle of the street after the child left it on the bed a few minutes ago? Also, why is Andy looking for Woody outside? Is it normal for him to look for his toys in places where he never left them? Also, Andy's house has a driveway on the left side, although in the previous films, there was only the lawn. The scene where Woody is handed over to his new mistress is completely different from the one they showed us at the end of the third film. The toys, after finding themselves in the closet for a short time, for some reason find themselves in a terrible stress situation, although not only should this be normal for toys, but they have never behaved in such a situation before. Sitting in the closet while Bonnie plays in her room, the toys talk loudly to each other, not caring at all that the child might hear you, and gain psychological trauma for the rest of her life by being afraid of the voices coming from the closets. When Bonnie goes to school, it turns out that Woody is in his backpack, and I would like to know where he got the invisibility cloak to slip into the backpack after coming out of the closet literally in front of Bonnie and her parents, who were in the room the whole time. All the eyes Woody pulled out of the trash were exactly the same size, but when Bonnie glued them to Forky, one eye suddenly got bigger. Bonnie's backpack flipped 180 degrees between shots.
Oh, of course not.
You could have been confiscated.
What does that mean?
Right, because if a child takes a toy to school, the teacher, instead of giving it back to the parents like a normal person, will decide to confiscate it forever. Forky jumps out of bed and ends up in the garbage can. Woody throws him on the bed, and Bonnie, for some reason, never sees him. Forky is a jerk who just wants to throw himself in the garbage because he doesn't think he is a toy. So why does he freeze so the little girl doesn't find out about him like all the other toys do too? In this scene, the string sticking out of Woody's back becomes 3 times as long, and when he retracts, the voice module does not play any cowboy phrases because it does not serve the plot. Why, in an RV with an actual bed, do the parents leave their daughter to sleep clothed in a chair? By a classic movie coincidence, Forky decides to jump off 5 minutes before arrival so that Woody has a chance to reach the car by walking at an ant's pace. Even at this pace, however, it should take the heroes several ions to arrive in the city, but the director uses magic teleportation to get them to their destination immediately within a few hours. The mail slot is at knee height just because it is needed for the plot. Among the toys that are completely alive for some reason are some and half-alive ones that look like zombies. When Woody and Forky entered the store, it was dawn. 2 minutes later, it is already noon outside. And if it's 8 o'clock in the summer, then the sun should be rising around 6 a.m. Yo, and antique stores don't open at 8 o'clock, they open at 11 at the latest. Woody has Forky's hands, although it is impossible that they could have come off his body because they were wrapped around him at the tightest point, and to remove them he would have to detach his head or legs.
Let's go look outside. Maybe he fell on the ground somewhere.
Bonnie's father thinks his daughter's toy may have crawled out of the van and into the street. The random phrases in Buzz's voice module, of course, fit perfectly with the situations he finds himself in. When Buzz jumps on the carousel, it suddenly becomes as big as a 20-story building. I would like to ask the director why this particular truck toy is not alive like the others but is just a normal toy. A crowd of children cannot cause an earthquake as if it were a herd of elephants of many tons. Yes, this way you are hiding from the camera, to everyone else on the other side sees you perfectly. It must be hard for the sheep to see where they're going inside that skunk with the total lack of windows. And again, why is this skunk not alive? Does it have any difference from the same car that Woody rescued at the beginning of the movie? It even has the same radio control.
How long have you been out on your own?
7 fantastic years.
7?
How did it, always living on the road, remain in such perfect condition for a full 7 years? It should be dirty, filthy, and completely worn out by time.
We heading out of town or— Whoa! Who's this?
Would you like to say that you didn't see it the instant your little house was opened? Cliché: the character looks at himself in the mirror so that he does not see himself, but the camera. Gabby suffers because of her faulty voice module, but I can't understand what prevents her from speaking in her own voice if someone pulls the rope. This basic lack of ingenuity is quite ridiculous when you consider that she has never had a child, and that her whole life has been ruined too because of it. Now the shooting toys don't care at all whether or not anyone looks at them. It's a fair full of people and they do what they want. And Bunny and Ducky are hanging much higher than they were shown to us in the previous scene.
Hey, where you going? You better get over here, spaceman!
Why do you want Buzz to come back if until a second ago it bothered you that he was the best prize in the shooting gallery? On the contrary, you should be glad that he left on his own.
If you think you can just show up and take our top prize spot, you're wrong.
Yes, all visitors to the park are such idiots that they cannot tell the difference between a live skunk and a remote-controlled toy by eye.
I'm fine, don't worry. It happens all the time.
After Bo's arm broke, she simply put it back in place, wrapped a band-aid around it, and it immediately grew back. But this miraculous regeneration stands in stark contrast to the situation of Woody, whose severed arm left him paralyzed until it was sewn back on. By that logic, he too should have had it repaired in a second, and forgotten about it immediately. In modern movies, women are always strong and independent, while men are stupid and clumsy. Feminism in cartoons could also be avoided. Buzz would never in life have found Woody in a huge city if only the director did not have them meet in the same place at the same time. What strength must little Jessie have to pierce a truck tire with a nail? It is so difficult to do even as a human. Zombie Benson is sitting on the closet, but for some reason he cannot see the heroes on the beam right in front of his nose. Why don't Bunny and Ducky pull away from each other and always walk attached to each other throughout the movie as if it were a normal thing?
That sheep has 3 heads. No. What? No.
Why are you so surprised when you have already seen her on the roof a few minutes ago? Of course, of all the places in town where you can buy toys, Bonnie's mom decides to come here, just because the plot needs Bonnie to forget her backpack here to come back for it in the finale. In other scenes, Woody falls to the ground like a rag, but now he decides to stand and do the poses. The sheep only started making noises when they were framed, but until then they were hanging on Benson's butt in complete silence.
What are we doing?
Shh! Just stand there and be quiet.
The cliché: instead of revealing his plan right away, the character keeps it a secret until the last moment to surprise the viewer. The child was so eager to receive Duke as a gift that he refused him after he failed to perform the first trick after 10 seconds of play. Since when can toys choose which phrase to say with their voice module? For Buzz it is completely random and in no way dependent on his will, but Woody can choose based on the situation. As soon as the heroes thought about how to get the key to the closet away from Grandma, they quickly discovered that by sheer coincidence they were right in front of the saucer on which she kept the key. Lucky them.
My favorite deputy.
Woody's voice module works only when the spring pulls the cord in his back. When fully extended, he should say nothing. Major mistake: a henchman pounces on Woody, they start fighting, a second passes, and the enemy has disappeared on his own, and the hero is completely free. This porcelain sheep should shatter into small pieces on impact. No cat in the world would swallow a plastic toy.
Buddy! No.
How can you not feel his weight attached to your paw as always? By a new and fantastic coincidence, at the very moment when Buzz is considering whether to get back into the van, all the phrases embedded in his voice module, without exception, talk exclusively about completing the operation, returning to base, and things of that nature.
The flat tire is back.
You mean it took you all day to change a tire? What's your problem?
Your backpack's in the antique store. Let's go!
Wait a minute. Buzz yelled in his real backpack voice right into Bonnie's mom's arms, and she didn't hear anything. And Bonnie pretends that a talking toy is a normal thing? Both of you should look at Buzz and scream at the top of your lungs in total panic. And why don't they see anything wrong with Forky being in the backpack if it should be the first place they looked in sight was empty?
Hey, right!
What? Right.
Right turn!
Trixie is pretending to be a navigator, and for some strange reason Bonnie's parents don't notice that the voice doesn't sound like a navigator at all, coming from somewhere in the ankles and not matching the image on the screen at all. I'm sorry, but these two have serious mental problems. The cliché of the full and huge moon can never be missed in movies. And in such a jump from a moving wheel, Duke had no more chance of hitting the hole than he did of winning the lottery 3 times in a row. Not to mention that to pull such a rope, he would have to weigh several pounds, not a few ounces. The authors of the film do not know that the accelerator pedal is different from the brake or clutch pedal. And after the engine starts making these jolts, Bonnie's father should instantly take the key out of the ignition and call a mechanic, instead of continuing in this way for several miles to the park. And then how do toys even manage to swerve to get to the place they need to? Also, the director thinks you disconnect causal wires, then the car will start flashing the headlights, raising the windows, and making the wipers move wildly.
Are we home?
And they want to tell us that Bonnie didn't wake up after all this chaos? Once in the car, neither Bonnie nor Mommy cares that all the toys have disappeared from above the bed. And why are all the toys waiting through the window here without being afraid that the mother or child might turn her head and see them all standing there? Also, Bonnie is always with Forky and doesn't leave him for a moment, so how is it possible that she is now at the window with the whole group? And I understand that Woody decided to leave his friends for love, but why did he also abandon Bullseye, who would not interfere in any way with his new relationship? The operator of the merry-go-round falls into a total coma and does not realize that all night long the children are winning toys over and over again and his business is failing. Write in the comments your favorite movie whose mistakes you would like to see, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so you don't miss new videos.